possibly the Mink test, carried out the day prior, without mentioning the Tsar Bomba test. 57. Consequences of the test. The creation and testing of the superbomb were of great political importance. The Soviet Union demonstrated its potential in creating a nuclear arsenal of great power. At that time, the most powerful thermonuclear charge tested by the United States was 15 mount, or partial Bravo. After the Tsar Bomba test, the United States did not increase the power of its own thermonuclear tests, and, in 1963 in Moscow, the treaty banning nuclear weapon tests in the atmosphere, outer space and underwater was signed. 15. The scientific result of the test was the experimental verification of the principles of calculation and design of multi-stage thermonuclear charges. It was experimentally proven that there is no fundamental limitation in increasing the power of a thermonuclear charge. However, as early as the 30th of October, 1949, 3 years before the Ivy Mike test which utilized the Teleulam design, 58, in the supplement to the official report of the General Advisory Committee of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, nuclear physicists Enrico Fermi and Isidore Isaac Rabi observed that thermonuclear weapons have unlimited destructive power. 59, 60, in the tested specimen of the bomb, to raise the explosion power by another 50 mount, it weighs enough to replace the lead sheath with uranium-238. As was normally expected. 35. The replacement of the cladding material and the decrease in the explosion power were motivated by the desire to reduce the amount of radioactive fallout to an acceptable level, 15, and not by the desire to reduce the weight of the bomb, as is sometimes believed. The weight of Tsar Bomba did decrease from this, but insignificantly. Uranium cladding was supposed to weigh about 2,800 kilograms, 6,200 pounds. The lead sheath of the same volume based on the lower density of lead is about 1,700 kilograms, 3,700 pounds. The resulting relief of just over 1 ton is weakly noticeable with a total mass of Tsar Bomba of at least 24 tons and did not affect the state of affairs with its transportation. The explosion is one of the cleanest in the history of atmospheric nuclear tests, the unit of power. The first stage of the bomb was a uranium charge with a capacity of 1.5 mount, 35. Which in itself provided a large amount of radioactive fallout. Nevertheless, it can be assumed that Tsar Bomba was relatively clean. More than 97% of the explosion power was provided by a thermonuclear fusion reaction, which does not create a significant amount of radioactive contamination. 61. A distant consequence was the increased radioactivity accumulated in the glaciers of Novaya Zemlya. According to the 2015 expedition, due to nuclear tests, the glaciers of Novaya Zemlya are 130 times more radioactive than the background in neighboring areas, including contamination from the tests of the Tsar Bomba. 62. Andrei Sakharov was against nuclear proliferation, and played a key role in signing the 1963 partial test ban treaty. Sakharov became an advocate of civil liberties and reforms in the Soviet Union. In 1973 he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and in 1974 was awarded the Prix Mondial Sino del Duca. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1975, although he was not allowed to leave the Soviet Union to collect it. His wife Yelena Borna read his speech at the acceptance ceremony. Analysis. The Tsar Bomba is the single most physically powerful device ever deployed on Earth, the most powerful nuclear bomb tested and the largest human-made explosion in history. 63. For comparison, the largest weapon ever produced by the U.S., the now decommissioned B-41, had a predicted maximum yield of 25 mount. Total destructive radius superimposed on Paris with the red circle indicating the area of total destruction, radius 35 kilometers, 22 mi, and the yellow circled the radius of the fireball, radius 3.5 kilometers, 2 mi, 100 pj. The largest nuclear device ever tested by the US, Castle Bravo, yielded 15 Mount, 63 pj, because of an unexpectedly high involvement of lithium-7 in the fusion reaction. The preliminary prediction for the yield was from 4 to 6 Mount, 17 to 25 pj. The largest weapons deployed by the Soviet Union were also around 25 Mount, 100 pj, for example, the SS-18 Mod 3 warhead. 2. The weight and size of the Tsar bomber limited the range and speed of the specially modified bomber carrying it. Delivery by an intercontinental ballistic missile would have required a much stronger missile. The Proton started its development as that delivery system. It has been estimated that detonating the original 100 Mount, 420 pj, design would have increased the world's total fission fallout since the invention of the atomic bomb by 25%. 64. It was decided that a full 100 Mount detonation would create a nuclear fallout that was unacceptable in terms of pollution from a single test, as well as a near certainty that the release plane and crew would be destroyed before it could escape the blast radius. 65. The Tsar bomber was the culmination of a series of high-yield thermonuclear weapons designed by the Soviet Union and the United States during the 1950s, for example, the Mark 17 and B-41 nuclear bombs. 2. Practical applications. Tsar bomber was never a practical weapon, it was a single product, the design of which allowed reaching a power of 100 Mount. The test of a 50 Mount bomb was, among other things, a test of the performance of the product design for 100 Mount. 22. The bomb was intended exclusively to exert psychological pressure on the United States. 19. Experts began to develop military missiles for warheads, 150 Mount and more, that have been redirected for space use. UR-500, warhead mass 40 tons. Virtually implemented as a carrier rocket Proton Ground Index 8K82. N1, warhead mass 7595 T, 7493 long tons, 83 105 short tons. The development was reoriented into a carrier for the lunar program. The project was brought to the stage of flight sign tests and closed in 1976, Ground Index 11 of 52. R56, Ground Index 8K67, 66. Films. Footage from a Soviet documentary about the bomb is featured in Trinity and Beyond, the Atomic Bomb Movie, Visual Concept Entertainment, 1995, where it is referred to as the Russian monster bomb. 67. The video states that the Tsar bomber project broke the voluntary moratorium on nuclear tests. In fact, the Soviets restarted their tests and broke the unilateral voluntary moratorium 30 days before Tsar bomber, testing 45 times in that month. Since the moratorium was unilateral, there was no multilateral legal obstacle. The US had declared their own one-year unilateral moratorium on nuclear tests and, as that year had expired, the US had already announced that it considered itself free to resume testing without further notice. Later, it was stated that the US had not resumed testing at the time of the Tsar bomb. 68. That announcement was in error, as the US had in fact tested 5 times under Operation Nugget between the USSR's ending of the moratorium on the 1st of October and the Tsar bomber test on the 30th of October. World's Biggest Bomb, a 2011 episode of the PBS documentary series Secrets of the Dead produced by Blink Films and MIT, chronicles the events leading to the detonations of Castle Bravo and the Tsar bomber. In connection with the celebration of 75 years of nuclear industry, Rosatom released a declassified Russian-language documentary video of the Tsar Bomba test on YouTube in August 2020. 69. See also: Cold War. Castle Bravo, largest U.S. test, and second largest detonation by Mount. Father of all bombs, largest Russian conventional bomb. Soviet atomic bomb project. Doomsday device. References: Bendix, Aria, the 1st of September, 2020. A cloud of smoke and dust